fucking Michael Bay, ruining everything he touches, even as a producer. I'm John Renton with the retro review of Friday the 13th, 2009. Yep, it's a reimagining, retelling of Jason Voorhees' origin story. Literally, in the first part, in the opening credits, we get the last 20 minutes condensed into about 3 of Jason's mother going on a killing spree and getting decapitated. And then we get some of Jason 2, Electric Boogaloo, where he's got the burlap sack. And then we get some of Jason 3, where he gets the iconic hockey mask. Literally, this movie is just a hodgepodge of ideas and shit from the Jason movies, human centipede together and presented in the worst way possible. It also has Jared Padalecki, who was in Supernatural, and you also had the other guy, the jockey guy, that was in Supernatural, that was in My Bloody Valentine 3D, that came out in 2009. So he was in an infinitely worse remake in the same year. Supernatural is a show that will carry on for quite a while, and these two guys seem like they got bright futures in Hollywood, but fucking hell, how weird is that? How weird is it that both those guys were in remakes of, somewhat classic horror movies in the same year? So anyway, it also comes to us from director Marcus Nispel, that I kept calling Marcus Nipple, because of course I fucking did. He directed a bunch of music videos. The 2003 version, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, nobody fucking wanted. Pathfinder Legend of the Ghost Warrior, and the 2011 version of Conan. I'm not saying it's his fault, but that's not a great resume of movies. Seriously, all those movies were fucking ass. I think Pathfinder Legend of the Ghost Warrior might have been the best fucking one. And I hated that movie. I really fucking hated it. Anyway, you got a bunch of beautiful women in this. You got Danielle Panabaker, you got Amanda Rigetti, you got Willa Ford, America Olivo. Willa Ford, by the way, looking great in this. I will say that the one thing that this movie gets right is it makes all the women stupid and just flirty and catty and wanting to show their tits. So pretty much it understands the slasher movie audience. Unfortunately, it doesn't give us any reason to really care if they get killed. And yes, in, horror movie 101, you're not supposed to really care about anybody that gets killed in a slasher. But if you're not given, any kind of emotional investment, you're just having bodies out there, cardboard cutouts, mannequins that are getting killed, you could just do that and it would be the same damn thing. You wouldn't get blood out of it, but you would get basically the same result because they don't have any character. So, yeah, you get the opening credits where the camp counselor kills Jason's mother, decapitating her. And then, Jason comes alive. He's alive. He's still alive. They didn't do the boat scene where the girl got drugged down at the end of the original. That was pretty goddamn good. We then cut to Camp Crystal Lake, where a bunch of goddamn idiot campers are aware of the legend of Camp Crystal Lake, but are also looking for a pot farm. Jason apparently got into the pot market sometime later, which I can't blame him. What the fuck else are you going to do in an abandoned campsite? And they all tell the story about Jason, and then they all separate because that's what you fucking do in a goddamn slasher. Why the fuck wouldn't you do that? In case you can't tell, I didn't like this movie very much. And I found some of it entertaining, but in a really stupid way, and I will explain why in due course. So they objectify, and as I said, they objectify every goddamn woman in this. One woman at one point, she's basically flirting with her boyfriend, while this other guy's trying to explain where this pot farm is, and they're using GPS and everything because 2009 technology wasn't quite up to snuff with now, where you can be tracked by literally everything. Cue the conspiracy theories. She's rubbing oil on herself and showing her tits because tits, am I right, lads? And then, basically they end up fucking in a tent while the nerdy guy goes off and listens to Night Ranger's Sister Christian, which is a good song. Doesn't really fit in this movie, but I digress. He finds a pot. Jason, being very protective of his pot farm, decides to kill this young man. And then the other two go off, including Whitney, Amanda Rigetti's character, and her boyfriend, and they're in the cabin, one of the cabins of Camp Crystal Lake, where Jason kind of makes it his lair, and I'll explain why here in a bit. They find a locket with the mother's face on. Hey, she looks like you. Gee, this won't tie into anything. Jason's the cock blocker and basically, puts Amanda in a, sleeping bag and burns her instead of beating her against a tree. Classic Jason kill right there. And then we got the bear trap on the foot. That was kind of brutal. Even though it was so dark you couldn't really see anything, it's just the implication of ooh, okay. Some of the gore actually wasn't that bad. It just got so fucking meaningless. So Jason then seemingly teleports to the cabin a mile away. He manages to stab his machete. He's just doing this it doesn't look like I'm doing a machete noise or machete motion at all. I apologize. No, whatever, fuck it, I'm rolling with it. But yeah, he's just stabbing up. He's trying to do this to the man. This is getting awkward. He basically ends up stabbing the guy. He ends up dragging her down into the abyss, so to speak. And that's pretty much it. Jason doesn't run, by the way. Jason never did a 40-yard dash like he does in this movie. He may have jogged at some points before they made him a zombie, but he doesn't fucking run. Okay, so you remember how I said they had the opening credits and they had the whole thing with the mother being decapitated and all the stuff with the camp counselor, and it was the last 20 minutes of the first movie condensed into 3 minutes, and then they had this whole thing? Well, then they show the title. 23 motherfucking minutes into the... Who the fuck thought this was a good idea? Oh, probably Michael Bay, the goddamn idiot. The only movie of his I ever fucking enjoyed was The Rock, and that's in spite of the fact that Michael Bay was involved. I don't like Michael Bay, in case you can't tell. And then we go 6 weeks later, because evidently that's just enough time for the, the slasher movie Clone Factory to churn out more people that we can put on a campsite. And he's taking hostages. He took Whitney, Amanda Ricci's character, because she looked like his mother. No. Fucking no. Anyway, Clay is looking for his sister. Clay is Jared Padalecki's character, and he's trying to put flyers up at this, remote gas station that remarkably has a lot of really good stuff, despite the fact that it looks like it was built in the 1930s and looks like it was renovated in 1931. And then we get more dumb people arriving, except for Jenna, Danielle Panabaker's character, who has a jock boyfriend that ends up screwing around with another girl there, because of course he does. And like Willa Ford, who is a singer. I mean, she has some music that's not that bad. She's likable enough. Willa Ford was 28 at the time. They were trying to have them be teenagers or early 20-somethings. I mean, but whatever. She looked great. She looked pretty. It still looks young now. And then, well, fucking damn. Everybody keeps being dumb. All these campers. Everybody keeps being dumb. They have some of the guys smoke a bunch of pot. Like you had the token black guy and the token Asian guy that just decided to just do a bunch of pot. They had a huge bong set. Clay keeps looking for his sister. And then he finds this guy running this wood chipper, this isn't possibly going to come back into play later. I'm looking for my sister. And then that creepy hick guy factors in a little bit later. Jockey dude says to, one other douchebag, actually they both kind of look like Owen Wilson, just not quite as douchey. He said, well, don't take my boat out. I'm the only one who drives my boat. Then Jenna realizes that Clay is good, and hey, I'm going to leave my boyfriend here and go off with a guy I don't know because he's looking for his sister and I see he has a good heart. The hick and the centerfold just fall on CMT. If you know what I'm talking about, you know that scene was disgusting. Seriously, what the fuck? Anyway, Jason has a burlap sack on, but then he finds the hick guy fondling a mannequin that took his virginity because hicks are all really stupid, I guess. This was filmed somewhere in Texas, and I think it might have been filmed in the same area they filmed the Texas Chainsaw Massacre remake. And then he finds a hockey mask in the hick's shack after killing him in a kind of hilarious way. And then everybody's drinking in the cabin while the others are going out water skiing. And then Jason fires an arrow. Apparently Jason learned crossbow techniques from somebody. Really accurate shot. Managed to hit this guy from about a mile away. And the girl had fallen off. And then she got, so he got the arrow through the head. It's not like a rush of blood to the head or bullet to the head by Sylvester Stallone. He got hit by that and then ends up hitting her because she doesn't think about the fact of moving out of the way because she never saw Sleepaway Camp. Don't ever see the sequels, by the way, just watch Sleepaway Camp 1. And then watch my review. I reviewed it last year because it was fun. And that ending still fucking haunts me. So he finds the girl, underneath the dock and just keeps stabbing. And stabs her to the skull and lifts her up just enough so the audience can see her tits. Because tits, am I right? And then Jenna keeps looking for Clay, and Jenna keep looking for Clay's sister. And it turns out that, they don't realize that there's a secret lair where, Whitney's screaming like help, but, it's underground, so you can't really hear that. You can't hear it yet because it's not convenient to the plot. And then Jason is really upset. He's carrying one of the dead bodies back there, and he thinks that something's out of place, so he tosses some canoes. Why not? It's coming soon to the Olympics, by the way. Why not? Everything else fucking is. And then we have more weed smoking. Bring your lips to it, suck and blow. That is a flaming drink. It's not a flaming mo because that had personality and life and energy. And I didn't like this movie. Your tips are tremendous is an actual line somebody was paid to write. To be fair, Blonde did look good. I will say that much. She put in the work. There's a guy out here carrying a dead body. I'm always hearing that when I'm out at work. And then there was a film sex scene because why the fuck not? This better not end up on the internet. No, none of that stuff ever ends up on the internet. Hard to believe this movie came out like 12 years ago. And then as usual, the black guy dies 7th. Wait, it's usually first, but he actually dies like 7th. A lot of people died before him. Jason, by the way, does see... First, he kills the Asian guy, and then he sees that, couple having sex. The jock guy, by the way, who has a beautiful girl in Jenna, but decides to fuck the blonde. I mean, to be fair, they're both beautiful in their own way, but what? Why would loyalty matter? Then Jason sees the climax, which sounds like a terrible version of Jason and the Argonauts. And then apparently Jason was not a fan of Willa Ford's music because he kills her. The cops show up, well, a cop, and then he gets a fire poker in the eye. Jason just getting a fire poker from where? Where did he get the fire poker? From the shed? Was he carrying one up his ass? Was the cop carrying one up his ass? Was there one in the gun? These things should be answered. By the way, 23 minutes, and we got to the title sequence, or we got to the title. So technically, all that stuff in the beginning was an epilogue, and we only had like about 60 minutes of an actual movie. No, about 65 minutes of a movie. Trent, the jock guy, gets, on the high falsetto screaming, and he runs out and freaks out, runs out into the woods. Clay and Jenna find the lair eventually where Whitney is. They free her, but Jenna gets killed because you gotta have more beautiful women die, hence Slasher Movie 101. And they get a battle on the bus. There's just a wrecked bus that happens to lead to the, one part of the lair. Whitney, kind of a bit of a klutz, but somehow escapes. And then we get more, shit, with them somehow finding that Hicks shed. And it's more like manchete. Proud of that. You really shouldn't be proud of that. Whitney impersonates his mother. Hey, Jason, what are you doing? The bear trap gets put on Jason's shoulder. And then the chain gets put into the wood chipper, and Jason gets choked out. Well, up, and then the chain gets shoved in there, and it's really, really weird. And he dies. And they have his body dumped into the lake. And then they have this, the scare thing where he jumps out of the shed, or the, from under the dog, and then gets her and everything, and drags her down. And this was supposed to start a new franchise, and I'm fucking glad it didn't. And fucking Michael Bay, you goddamn idiot. Anyway, agree, disagree, what I said, like, share, subscribe, Twitter handle in the description. I'm John Rethlin. I'll see you soon.